The fearless rookie. When Max Verstappen first appeared in Formula One, he wasn't supposed to be there. At 17 years old, he was the youngest driver ever to compete in the sport. He hadn't even finished his regular schooling. Most people thought he was too young, too inexperienced, too risky. Then the lights went out in Australia 2015, and everyone realized they were watching something completely different. Verstappen didn't drive like a rookie. He drove like he'd been doing this for years. Overtakes that veterans wouldn't attempt. He pulled off without hesitation. Defending against world champions, he held his ground. There was no fear in him, just pure racing instinct. Max was born into motorsport. His father, Jos Verstappen, had raced in F1. His mother, Sophie Kumpen, was a successful kart racer. From the moment Max could walk, he was around racing. By age 4, he was karting. By 7, he was winning everything. His talent was obvious, but so was his aggression. He raced hard, pushed limits, and never backed down. Red Bull spotted him early and signed him to their junior program. They put him in Toro Rosso for 2015, making him the youngest F1 driver in history. The FIA even changed the rules afterward, raising the minimum age to 18 because they thought 17 was too young. But Max proved them all wrong. In his debut season, he finished 4th in Hungary, battling against far more experienced drivers in better cars. He made overtakes that looked impossible. He defended positions against champions. He crashed sometimes too, but nobody cared because the speed was undeniable. This was raw talent with zero filter. No caution, no hesitation, just a teenager who believed he belonged at the front and drove like it. The fearless rookie didn't just arrive in F1, he announced himself as the future, and he was only getting started. The youngest winner. After one season of proving he belonged, Verstappen was about to make history in the most dramatic way possible. 4 races into 2016, Red Bull made a decision that shocked the paddock. They promoted Max from Toro Rosso to the main Red Bull team, replacing Daniel Kvyat. He was 18 years old. His first race for Red Bull was Spain. Nobody expected what happened next. Both Mercedes drivers crashed into each other on the first lap, taking themselves out of the race. Suddenly, the win was open. Ferrari had the pace. Red Bull were in the mix. And Verstappen, in his first race for the team, found himself leading. He didn't panic. He managed the tires perfectly. He held off Kimi Räikkönen in a faster Ferrari. He made 0 mistakes under immense pressure. When he crossed the line, he became the youngest race winner in F1 history at 18 years and 228 days. That record still stands. The victory wasn't lucky. It was earned through racecraft that drivers twice his age couldn't match. He controlled the pace, defended smartly, and never gave Räikkönen a chance to pass. After the race, the paddock was speechless. A teenager had just won on his debut for Red Bull. The team that had nurtured champions like Vettel now had another prodigy, and this one looked even more complete. But the win also brought criticism. Other drivers complained that Max was too aggressive, too dangerous. He defended hard, moved late in braking zones, and refused to give space. The stewards gave him penalties. Pundits debated whether his style was brilliant or reckless. Max didn't care. He kept racing the same way. Hard, aggressive, uncompromising. This was the version that showed the world he wasn't just talented, he was a winner. The youngest winner in history, and he was only going to get faster. The rival. By 2017 and 2018, Verstappen had evolved from prodigy to genuine title contender in waiting. But Mercedes and Ferrari still had the best cars. Red Bull's Renault engine was holding him back. So Max did the only thing he could. He maximized every opportunity and made himself impossible to ignore. This was when the rivalry with Vettel and Hamilton intensified. In 2017, Max clashed with Vettel in Mexico. Vettel called him dangerous and reckless over the radio. Max didn't respond with words. He responded by winning the race. That season, he took 2 victories and multiple podiums despite having the 3rd fastest car. His overtakes became legendary. In China, he passed both Ferraris around the outside of Turn 1. In Brazil, he produced one of the greatest wet weather drives ever seen, carving through the field with moves that left commentators speechless. Then came 2018. Red Bull switched to Honda engines. The reliability improved, and so did Max's consistency. He won in Austria, his home race for Red Bull. He dominated in Mexico again. But the most important development was his maturity. The aggressive defending that had caused penalties started to evolve. He was still hard to race against, but smarter about it. He learned when to attack and when to be patient. improved. The crashes decreased. The results improved. This version of Verstappen was the complete package. Raw speed combined with growing tactical awareness. He was pushing Hamilton and Vettel, learning from every battle. Fans started to split. Some saw him as F1's future champion. Others still saw him as too aggressive. But nobody could deny the talent anymore. He was extracting more from his car than should have been possible. And when Red Bull finally gave him the equipment to fight for titles, everyone knew what was coming. The rival was ready. He just needed the machinery to match his skill. The dominant champion. After years of waiting, everything changed in 2021. Red Bull built a car fast enough to challenge Mercedes. Honda delivered a power unit that finally matched the competition. And Verstappen was about to put on a championship fight for the ages. From the first race in Bahrain, it was war. Hamilton versus Verstappen. Mercedes versus Red Bull. Experience against youth. The old guard defending their throne against the new king trying to take it. The season produced some of the greatest racing ever seen. Verstappen and Hamilton went wheel to wheel at 200 miles per hour. They collided in Monza, taking both drivers out. They battled in Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and every track in between. Max won 9 races that season. He was aggressive, relentless, and uncompromising. Some of his moves pushed the limits of what was acceptable. The contact at Silverstone sent him into the barriers at high speed. In Saudi Arabia, he gave a position back to Hamilton in a confusing sequence that divided opinion. But through it all, he never backed down. Then came Abu Dhabi, the final race. Hamilton and Verstappen tied on points. Winner takes all. Hamilton controlled most of the race, managing his tires and building a gap. Then, Nicholas Latifi crashed with 5 laps remaining. The safety car came out. The race director made a controversial call, allowing lapped cars between the leaders to unlap. Verstappen pitted for fresh, soft tires. Hamilton stayed out on old hards. 1 lap of racing remained. Verstappen passed Hamilton into turn 5 and won the championship. The decision was controversial. Mercedes protested. Half the world argued about the rules. But when the dust settled, Max Verstappen was world champion. At 24 years old, he'd dethroned the most dominant team in modern F1. He'd beaten one of the greatest drivers in history, and he'd done it with pure aggression and speed. This was the moment everything changed. The dominant champion had arrived. The record breaker. After the controversy of 2021, Verstappen had something to prove. In 2022, he showed the world that Abu Dhabi wasn't luck. It was inevitable. Red Bull built the RB18, a car that exploited the new regulations perfectly, and Max drove it to one of the most dominant seasons in F1 history. He won 15 races out of 22. He clinched the championship with 4 rounds remaining. He broke the record for most wins in a single season. But it wasn't just the numbers. It was how he won. In Australia, he started 8th after qualifying issues and won comfortably. In Hungary, he came from 10th on the grid to victory. When the car was perfect, he was untouchable. When it wasn't, he still found a way to win. Ferrari had started the season with the faster car, but they collapsed under the pressure. Strategy mistakes, reliability failures, and driver errors handed Red Bull a championship they controlled from summer onward. Verstappen made 0 mistakes when it mattered. He extracted every tenth from the car. He managed tires better than anyone. He turned pole positions into dominant wins and bad grid slots into podiums. This was Verstappen at peak efficiency. No drama, no controversy, just clinical perfection. Then came 2023, and somehow he got even better. Red Bull built the RB19, possibly the most dominant car ever created. Verstappen won 19 races out of 23. He won 10 races in a row at one point. He finished on the podium in all but 1 race. The championship was over before summer. Some fans complained it was boring. Others appreciated watching greatness, because that's what this was. An athlete performing at a level the sport had rarely seen. The record breaker wasn't just winning, he was rewriting history, and he made it look effortless. The complete driver. By 2024, Verstappen had nothing left to prove. 3 world championships, multiple records, respect from every rival. But instead of coasting, he showed yet another evolution. When Red Bull's car stopped being dominant mid-season, when McLaren built the faster machine, Max adapted. He won races he had no business winning. In Brazil, he started 17th after a disastrous qualifying and penalties. The rain came down hard, the track was treacherous, and Verstappen drove one of the greatest races ever seen, carving through the field to win by nearly 20 seconds. It was a masterclass in wet weather driving, racecraft, and mental strength. When the championship pressure mounted, when Lando Norris closed the gap in a faster McLaren, Max didn't panic. He finished on the podium podium consistently. He made zero mistakes. He let his rivals make errors while he collected points. By Las Vegas, the title was his. 4 world championships. And this one felt different because he won it without the best car for half the season. This version of Verstappen is complete. The raw aggression of his youth has been refined into controlled precision. The controversial moves have evolved into calculated racecraft. The fearless teenager has become a mature champion who knows exactly when to push and when to conserve. He's learned from Vettel's dominance, Hamilton's consistency, and every battle he's fought. Off track, he's more relaxed, more open, more content. He streams racing games, jokes with fans, and shows personality that was hidden earlier in his career. On track, he's still ruthless, but now it's wrapped in wisdom. The complete driver had emerged, and everyone thought they'd seen the final form. They were wrong. The Hungry Lion. Heading into 2025, something unexpected happened. For the first time in years, Verstappen doesn't have the fastest car. Red Bull's development is stalled. Mercedes have found pace. Ferrari are competitive. McLaren remains strong. And yet, Max is still here, still fighting, still winning when he shouldn't. This version of Verstappen is different from the dominant champion of 2022 and 2023. There's an edge back in his driving, a hunger that comes from being challenged again. When you have the best car, winning is expected. When you don't, every victory becomes personal. Every podium is earned through pure skill. Early in the season, the cracks in Red Bull's car became obvious. The balance issues that started in 2024 hadn't been fully solved. The updates didn't bring the expected gains. Meanwhile, the competition closed in. Instead of panicking or making excuses, Max doubled down. He pushed the engineers harder. He gave more detailed feedback. He extracted lap times from the RB21 that the data said shouldn't be possible. His qualifying performances have been surgical. His race starts aggressive. His tire management masterful. He's had to fight for every position, defend harder, attack smarter, and think 3 steps ahead of everyone else. There's been frustration too. Radio messages questioning strategy, visible annoyance when the car underperforms. But that fire, that refusal to accept anything less than perfection, that's what separates champions from everyone else. What makes this version compelling is the unpredictability. When you're dominant, people know you'll win. When you're fighting with inferior equipment, every race becomes a story. Will Max pull off another miracle drive? Will the car finally let him down? Can he hold off younger, hungrier drivers in faster machinery? This is Verstappen proving he's not just a product of a dominant car. This is him showing that put him in any car, any situation, any level of pressure, and he'll find a way to compete. The Hungry Lion doesn't have the pride strength behind him anymore, but he's still the most dangerous predator on the grid. At 27 years old with 4 championships already secured, Max Verstappen is writing a new chapter. Not one of easy dominance, but one of pure fighting spirit. From the fearless rookie who shocked the world at 17 to the hungry champion battling against the odds today, every version of Verstappen has been special. But this current form, the driver who refuses to be beaten even when the odds are stacked against him, this might be the most impressive yet. The Hungry Lion, the 4-time world champion, still learning, still evolving, still hungry for more.